Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel. The Wingman One Life Standard mode is about to be re-released into Rogue Company as a limited time mode, and with that I thought I would bring you a tier list so you know the best rogues to play for this game mode. Of course this is based off my personal opinion and extensive playtime within the game, but if you have any other suggestions, why don't you leave them down in the comments below respectfully. If you do go on to enjoy the video or you just want to see daily, educational Rogue Company content, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, but for now, let's get into it. Now when I make tier lists, I like to set out exactly what each tier is in my eyes. So for the S tier is going to be the excellent rogues that you're really going to pick up and they'll really help you carry the game. A tier are going to be good rogues who are viable options for you to choose. B tier are your average rogues who can do okay, they're kind of situational. And then you got C tier, which are ones with better options, so there are better choices that you can use for these rogues. Or there are D tier, which is unusable rogues. I'm going to go through every single rogue alphabetically and talk to you about why I've placed them there. But if you're not interested in learning why, you can just skip to this timestamp right here and go and see the full tier list. To kick it all off though, we're going to start with ANVIL, who is a great defender rogue in matches like Demolition or holding points on Strikeout. But when it comes to a one life game mode where it's all about killing the enemy opponents, ANVIL doesn't have as much to show for. He has a good passive for that flash immunity if the enemy team have flashbangs, but beyond that his weapons in the Maw and Arbitrator tend not to work much on these two maps, District and Depot, that we have at the moment, and they're not as good at competing with other weapons from other rogues in the game. He's far more utility based in Demolition, but that utility nature doesn't really translate very well into Wingman. And therefore I'm going to place him down in the C tier as a rogue where there are just better options than him to choose from that can pretty much do the same job with a C4. Next we're going to move on to CHAAC, who's obviously built for these 1v1 and 1v2 situations based on his kit. He's got his overheal with the stim pack, he's got life drain, he's got replenish, and he's got a great SMG that can beam at close to mid range. There's the perfect sort of setting for a game mode like this. The one downside that CHAAC always has is that he's very vulnerable to being team shot, especially when he makes that loud overheal stim pack noise. People know to focus him down. So you do kind of rely on your teammate a little bit more than you would in something like Demolition, where you could isolate people easier. So for that reason, he's going to be placed in the A tier as a good rogue and one you should definitely pick up and start using, but he tends not to be super hard carrying like he could if he can isolate in Demolition. Next, we're going to move on to DAHLIA, and as you can all imagine, she's going to be a very strong contender in this sort of game mode. She always appears in 2v2 tournaments when they are run, and in a game mode like Wingman, she just thrives in that sort of setting. She can link up to her buddy and mess with a bunch of different passives that they have available to her, and also bring that lifeline res available for really quick action and saving your teammate's life in the thick of the moment. She has two great weapons that really allow her to sort of kill and beat everybody, and she also has tenacity, which just helps her against some of these more frag orientated picks that people try and get. And for that reason, of course, DAHLIA is going to be up there in the S tier. Now let's have a look at Dallas, and I actually personally rate Dallas really highly in a 2v2 mode. It's actually what got me started playing Dallas in Demolition, was seeing how strong he could be in this sort of 2v2 Wingman mode when I was back on the PTS. The reason I think he's so strong is not only because with the Devotion you can get a 71 damage to the head, which allows your team shot potential with your teammate to be really strong, because you deal so much damage so easily, so quickly, and therefore the team shot can come out, and his other high damage weapons, but also that reveal and incendiary grenade are really impactful in a mode like Wingman, where you can use the incendiary grenade to put people off of positions, then easily pick them out as they're trying to escape, and you have that reveal which can constantly refresh if he gets it down, meaning he can see exactly where those enemies are. For this reason and just the strength of Dallas in this sort of mode, I'm going to place him up in the A tier. Moving now on to DIMA, I think he definitely has a good place. His two weapons are actually really good. The Mamba especially feels very strong in Wingman because of some of the mid-ranges that you can sort of fight at. Getting that double dink headshot is really strong, and the K30 is also a great option. He has great aggressive utility in his grenades and his Merv launcher that allow him to flush people out of positions, but based on the maps we have currently within Wingman, there's not a lot of backboards and sort of very close-knit corners in the maps that allow Demon to get an ult off amazingly. You definitely can find angles and stuff, but if the team you're playing against are pretty good, you won't be able to get the same sort of benefit you would on other maps that we have in Demolition and Strikeout. For For this reason, whilst I still think he's good and viable, I'm going to put him down in the B tier. It's just an average rogue you can definitely pick up and do okay on, but he's not going to be your hardcore carry and damage dealer like he might be in some other modes. Next on the list is going to be Glitch, and actually Glitch does not suit this sort of game mode very well. Same kind of how he doesn't suit Strikeout very well. He's okay at fragging out, he's got weapons, that's kind of the truth of all of this list. Anyone can do kind of well because they can shoot, and that is valuable in this sort of mode. But when it comes to his utility and the benefit of actually having a glitch, you don't really have the same sort of use as you would in Demolition. His hack ability really is not that impactful, and his just using it for intel is also not great because you tend to know where people are in this game mode anyway. It's not like people sneak about too much. Flanks are really hard to pull off, if at all. And so I'm going to put him down in the C tier because I just don't think he's that impactful. His Semtex and Flash are okay, but it's not overall the massive benefit that you're going to want from a glitch. Our next rogue is going to be Lancer, and this one always tends to be kind of controversial because people love to place Lancer really highly in tier lists because she can frag out really well. But as a Lancer lover, I'm going to be objective about this and be honest about where I think she places. And Lancer's benefit in a game like Rogue Company is flanking and isolating people in 1v1s where she's kind of got the drop on them. Not so much when she's in a straight fight out with them. A lot of guns actually outgun the 24S, the SLC is one of them, the D40C is one of them, and honestly the MXR can also. So if it comes to a straight, I'm in your face, you're in my face, 1v1, Lancer doesn't always necessarily win these. Of course the roll reload is really strong at helping her bounce between targets, but in Wingman where there's only 2 targets, it's not that beneficial as such. She's still good and she can still absolutely do well, but without the flank pressure from these maps, because the flanks really aren't that viable to get off, I'm going to place her into the B tier as just a sort of average rogue for this mode. She's like not bad, but she's also not that incredible Lancer that we know from a mode like Strikeout. Next up is going to be Phantom, and as a sniper in a 2v2 mode, you're definitely not the strongest and most viable that you are, because these tend to be quite aggressive and fast paced. The sniper angle and the pick potential, whilst it's so valuable if you can get it, is not as easy to get or as necessary for teams to really worry about. When it's an isolated 2v2, what happens is they know there's a Phantom, they know they just need to work the angles and cover to try and get in her face and kill her that way. And honestly, in this 2v2 mode, I do not think Phantom is as viable as she is in something like Demolition or Strikeout, but I do not think she's bad also, so I'm going to place her in that B tier as an average rogue, and it kind of depends on your team comp and the quality of the Phantom. Moving on to Ronin, who has great utility of course, and 2 great weapons to make her viable with tenacity, replenish, and so much other pieces of her kit. She is definitely going to be high up on this tier list. The reason particularly is because utility and grenades and pick potential are so valuable, and so having the ballistic knife and having the grenade as well offers her a lot of utility to get picks, and then she can follow that up with her great weapons. For this reason and just her strength generally in kit, she's going to be placed up into that S tier position. Moving on to Saint, he has great potential for getting another revive off similar to Dahlia, which in the 2v2 mode, if your teammates got picked, getting that revive is so important, especially because they're probably going to rush you as soon after, so you want that revive to be as quick as possible. Because of the speed of it, Dahlia is slightly better than him, but that does not mean Saint is bad at assisting his team also. He also has the Mambo, which you mentioned with DIMA, is a very strong weapon, and he has the Mark IV, the assault rifle, which I think is pretty viable as well in a mode like this. For those reasons, I actually think I'm going to place him up into the A tier because he is strong with that revive, and he does have weapons that can hold his own in this sort of 2v2 mode. Next up is going to be Scorch, who I think is actually incredible in this sort of 2v2 mode. The main reason for it is that Scorch is arguably the best 1v1 duelist in a straight 1v1. She can burn through anybody using her ability in the SLC, which is so strong. For that reason, she's great in a 1v1 isolated situation on Wingman, but can also bounce to a 1v2 or 2v2 with a team shot. I think she's really strong, and she also has an incendiary grenade, which as I mentioned are really good in this game mode as well, because it flushes campers out of their positions in the 2v2 and forces a fight when you want it. Also being fire immune is great, and it helps to play the point right at the end of the game mode. For these reasons, and the fact that I think she's just so strong in that fighting scenario, in that skirmish scenario which Wingman forces, I'm going to place that all the way up into the S tier position. SIGRID will come in next onto this list, and I actually also think she is pretty good in this mode. The reason for it is because team shooting is really important, and SIGRID offers a way of distracting the enemies long enough for your teammate to get a position to shoot them as well. I also think just being in a straight 1v1 with that shield is really strong, the Warrant pistol over the top of the shield is really good. Also, I use it actually exclusively when I play SIGRID in any game mode. I love running around with a pistol rather than actually buying a primary weapon, which also allows her to focus on utility such as the stim shot, which is also really, really good. I think her place within this game is actually really good for a 2v2 skirmish mode, and I think she benefits really well from having an aggressive teammate with her to help push out enemy positions. I think a great combination actually is CHAAC and SIGRID for this reason. Just that extra survivability with both of them is really good, and for this reason I'm going to place her along with him up into the A tier. TALON is going to come next into this tier list, and I actually think he has a good place within this game mode. I think his dart is okay at revealing some information for you and your teammate, but it's not super important because in Wingman you tend to know where your enemies are, as the skirmishes tend to happen kind of quickly, and it is all about how you outplay that 2v2. So the information intel side of things isn't as important, especially not compared to DAHLIA, who gets you a precise movement of that enemy in a much clearer way. His weapons though are good, and with the flashbang and C4 I definitely think he has a super viable option, and for this reason and just with his general strength with perks such as life drain and tenacity, I'm going to place him up in the A tier as well. Moving on to the other sniper within the game, who is the Fixer, I'm going to place him very similarly to Phantom, just because again you have a sniper pick pressure, but also it's just kind of a risk reward situation in a 2v2 mode where things are so quick and so up in your face. The sniper doesn't benefit as much. He's probably a slightly better option than Phantom in my opinion, but I'm also going to place him there in that B tier as just an average rogue who's kind of situational depending on you and your teammate's playstyle. Trench now coming in is going to be a rogue who I think kind of suffers in this game mode similar to ANVIL. His defensive utility really isn't that impactful. The APS is kind of okay at stopping some of that grenade pick pressure I was talking about, but the gas grenades are kind of meh in this sort of mode where there's so much space to reposition. Same with his barbed wire, and I just don't think he's as viable. His weapons are good obviously with the MXR, but I just think there are better options than him in this game mode, and for that reason he's going to be placed in that C tier as the better options are available. And then lastly on this tier list is going to be Vi, who I think, unlike her defender counterparts, is pretty strong because again her zone control is aggressive zone control. It flushes people out of positions like the Molotov does, and she also has a Molotov herself, and that is really beneficial to her. Her weapons are also built for a slightly closer range than the other defenders, which means she is better in this close-up skirmish mode, and for this reason, and just generally because her kit is so strong and so good, I'm going to place her up into the S tier position. This then, guys, is going to be the full tier list based on everything I've just spoken about, and I really want to know your opinions down in the comments below. If you agree with my picks, or if you disagree, just make sure we keep it all respectful, guys, and be aware of other people's opinions and what they think. I also advise that if you have just skipped to this tier list and you are questioning some of my choices, go back and watch what I said about them, because maybe it will help form your opinion, or at least that you understand mine. That's going to be the end of the video though, guys, and if you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING, see live gameplay commentaries, guides, Q&As, and playing with viewers. All the links you're going to need are down in the description below. But for now, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. And remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.